What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome to Tech on the Mark. I'm your host, Mark, also known as the Knowledge Flexing Texan. Today I have another vlog for you. We're going to be discussing the Cobra Kai series there that premiered on YouTube Red. We're going to be discussing some channel updates and a few other topics there. But the Cobra Kai series there, it's a continuation of the original Karate Kid movie, in case you didn't know. And they also touch on other movies as well. And it does have Ralph Macchio and William Zabka in it. You know, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel-san from the first movie. There are going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the series, I highly suggest you step away now. If you'd like to see the series, it is on YouTube there. You can watch the first 2 episodes free, I believe. You can sign up for a free month of YouTube Red to watch the rest of the series. There's 10 episodes in total now. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about some channel updates first there. I have finished uploading all my unboxing and review videos that were re-uploads from before I had to change my channel name. So those are all done. So now I can start focusing on doing brand new product reviews and stuff like that. I have taken some content down off the channel. I don't think they're relevant to the channel anymore, so I'm going to take those down. I have set up a Patreon recently. You can go visit me over there if you want to and help contribute. I work all week and part of the weekend, so it's kind of hard for me to get around to doing these videos, you know, because I'm just a poor guy trying to make a living. But if you'd like to contribute to me over there on Patreon, it sure would help me out. I'd be able to dedicate a little bit more time to doing videos and such. I'm going to try to get it back on a regular schedule there. Let's discuss the Cobra Kai series there. If you've been a fan of the Karate Kid movie, which I was a fan growing up. I had some problems though with the original Karate Kid movies. I'm going to discuss that real quick before we start talking about Cobra Kai. You know, in the first Karate Kid movie, Daniel's getting his butt kicked, you know, and there's a video on YouTube there talking about how Daniel was the bad guy. And, you know, some of that's kind of true in a way. You know, all in all, though, Daniel wasn't really the bad guy or whatever, but there were some things about the original movies that just didn't make sense, okay? Well, Daniel, you know, gets his butt kicked around all around town or whatever. Mr. Miyagi comes and rescues him and helps train him for the tournament and all that stuff, and then he does start instigating with the guys who are bothering him. Then, you know, he goes on, he fights the tournament, he wins. Spoiler alert, in case you ain't never seen the movie. He does win, okay, and then in the second movie there, he goes to Okinawa. With all the training he's probably had from the first movie to when he goes to Okinawa, you'd think that he could defend himself a little bit better, but then he starts getting his butt kicked all over Okinawa again, you know, and it's like Mr. Miyagi has to step in again, you know, help him, train him a little bit more, help him fight. Then he gets up involved in some kind of death match with the guy, I think his name was Chosen, fights a death match with him and he wins. You know, he wins a death match against a guy who's probably been studying martial arts his entire life, could probably wipe the floor with Daniel on any given day. But anyway, he wins that fight. So now, I mean, that's an accomplishment as a student of Mr. Miyagi's, that he was able to win that fight. So then he comes back home, and then the third movie or whatever, they're trying to get revenge on him for, you know, what he did to Cobra Kai and all that stuff, and they bring back John Kreese and everything. So they find a new guy, the bad boy karate. I think his name in the movie was Mike Barnes or something like that. And they bring him back, and then he starts whipping Daniel's butt. Now, after having beat Chosen over there and stood his own against him in a death match, it seems like Daniel would be a little bit more capable of fighting, and again, especially against somebody who's only a tournament fighter, you know, versus somebody who has fought in death matches probably and been training all his life. Mike Barnes shouldn't have been any competition for Daniel whatsoever. Neither should Terry Silver, for that matter. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But then he goes into another tournament, and then he's getting his butt kicked through the tournament, and he starts telling Mr. Miyagi he's afraid of this Mike Barnes character.
I'm afraid! Just get out of here! I want to go home!
You mean to tell me you just got through fighting a death match in Okinawa, and this guy, this tournament guy, you're scared of him getting some points on you? Going back to, you know, like I said, Terry Silver, he shouldn't have been any consequence to Daniel whatsoever. I mean, sure, he's probably got years more experience in martial arts training than Daniel does, but still, with all Daniel's been through and having Mr. Miyagi as a teacher, Daniel should have very well been able to defend himself against those people. Maybe not beat him, but at least defend himself in a way where he wasn't getting his butt kicked. But anyway, that video going around on YouTube shows, you know, Johnny is kind of a flawed hero in the first movie, and they do kind of touch on that in the Cobra Kai, because I always thought that crane kick was illegal, kick to the face or whatever. It always bothered me when I saw the movie. But we're going to start talking about Cobra Kai now, so they're going to be spoilers. The series starts off really good. It gives you the point of view from Johnny Lawrence, what his life's been since the tournament, and he's always got these images of Daniel or something in his way throughout his life. He's had issues as a father, obviously hooked up with somebody and had a child that wasn't a very good mother, and he wasn't a very good father, but he still loves his son, and that's pretty predominant throughout the whole series when you watch it, that he really does care about his son. And I like the way the series was really going in the first 4, 5, 6 episodes there, and then they kind of lead you up to maybe Daniel being the antagonist here, and that's what I thought was really going to happen. I thought they were going to kind of role reverse, and Daniel was going to kind of become the bad guy, and Johnny was going to kind of become the good guy. But really, it's kind of hard to figure out who to root for in the series, because you know, there's so many ups and downs as far as like this person doing good, this person doing good, and then this person's doing bad, and this person's doing bad. And Daniel and Johnny both have good and bad points. All the characters in the series have a tremendous amount of depth, and they're not hollow at all. And even the younger characters, they all have, you know, those acting chops that really draw you in, make you believe what they're saying. And then for the old school fans of the Karate Kid, man, there's some moments in there that really kind of, you know, choked me up a little bit. My old lady, she called me a wussy, and I didn't cry. But I could have. But I mean, some of that stuff did kind of choke me up a little bit, especially seeing some of the stuff that Johnny's gone through and some of the stuff Johnny's dealing with, and even from the things that happened in the tournament of the original movie, and those demons that Johnny's still dealing with in his head, and you know, his son and all that stuff. And then they look like they're leading Johnny and Daniel to become friends in the series there after a confrontation at Daniel's house there, and Johnny losing his car because Daniel's cousin decided to go burn his car, you know, Johnny's car down and all that stuff. And then they kind of flipped the script on you, and then they started making the one kid, I think his name's Miguel, in the series. He's the main student for Johnny there, and he seemed like a really good kid in the start. But then when he gets into the Cobra Kai tournament and, you know, the All Valley tournament and all that, he starts pulling some dirty Cobra Kai moves. Same thing with the kid Hawk, they called Hawk. He started becoming like a real bad guy. I wasn't really expecting them to take that kind of twist with those two characters and turn them into that kind of, you know, arrogance that they had. Then it kind of led up to Miguel fighting Johnny's son, who's been being trained by Daniel secretively, because he didn't tell Daniel that he was Johnny's son. And Johnny's son is a bad seed and you know, a troublemaker. And then he starts working for LaRusso Auto and finds a little bit of purpose and, I guess, balance, to quote the series, and starts training with Daniel a little bit there, karate. Really kind of shocking, you know. And you could tell that Johnny was kind of conflicted whether he should be rooting for this kid Miguel, who he's been looking at like a son that he never had, that he did have, but he didn't have because he wasn't there for him. His real son, his biological son, fighting there at the end tournament there, you know. I highly recommend watching it if you're a fan of the original Karate Kid series, movies that is. The twist at the end with John Kreese coming back after Miguel wins the tournament was really kind of shocking, but I kind of knew it. They had touched on John Kreese and Terry Silver in a couple episodes previously before the finale. Johnny Lawrence had mentioned that John Kreese was dead, and then he walks it. You know, they're trying to set you up for that surprise at the end, but I just wonder what's in store if they're going to bring, you know, Terry Silver back. The kid who played Mike Barnes, well, he's not a kid anymore, he's obviously a grown man now. The guy who played Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3 has already expressed interest in wanting to come to the series and return to the Mike Barnes character. And I'd also think that they could work Terry Silver in there somewhere as well. And they could probably even work Chosen in there somehow if they really wanted to from the Karate Kid 2 movie. Maybe he's changed his life. Maybe he learned something from all that stuff that happened in Okinawa with him and Daniel. Or maybe he's still holding a grudge, and maybe he's coming to America to kick Daniel's butt or something like that. I think before the series ends, somehow or another, Johnny and Daniel are going to end up friends. I think they're really going to redeem Johnny in every aspect of the word. But that's my review. So, you know, go see it. Go watch it. Another show I watch regularly is a show that comes on, I think it's USA Network there, called Colony. and it's a little sci-fi fantasy show. I'm not going to talk about that too much right now, but I might do another vlog in the future. If you haven't seen that show and you like sci-fi, I definitely recommend binge watching that one too. It's a pretty good show. Anyway, one other topic I wanted to touch on was some sudden realizations came to my mind the other day. And some other ones I've seen posted on the internet and stuff. The first one was this little piggy went to market. Now, you know, you always think when you're a kid, you hear this little piggy went to market, this little piggy went home, this little piggy had roast beef, this little piggy had none, this little piggy went wee all the way home. Well, the first piggy going to market, I always thought that meant he was going to the grocery store, you know, and when you realize that he's going to the market to be butchered and sold, it kind of, you know, changes your perception of that little this little piggy went to market thing. It kind of blew my mind. Then somebody had posted on Facebook the other day that why did chicken cross the road? And you know, and of course everybody knows the answer, to get to the other side. And when you hear the other side, you think the other side of the road. No, he's crossing the road to get to the other side. And I don't know if this one's true or not. The other side, like when you're dead, the other side. I don't know if that's true, if that's what that's really supposed to mean. And since we're talking about old stuff and old TV shows, another great movie that I grew up with in the 80s, and it was pretty funny to me back then, was The Great Outdoors with Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. Really good movie. If you haven't ever seen it, I definitely suggest you check it out. Comedy, campy, you know, it's not nothing serious at all. It's not really. There's this one scene in the movie, and it just dawned on me the other day. It made me realize if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Where they're at a steakhouse, you know, and Dan Aykroyd in the movie's always acting like a big shot, you know, trying to rent a jet boat and trying to act like he's got money. Well, they all go out to eat, you know, at the steak restaurant, and you know, of course, he's going to probably try to pick up the tab somehow or another. But then Chet comes along and wants to try this old 96er steak or whatever, and they tell him you eat it, everybody gets your meal for free. So Dan Aykroyd is pushing him through the whole scene to eat that whole steak, you know, even though he's obviously at the point where he gets kind of sick or whatever. And that didn't dawn on me the reason why the Dan Aykroyd character was so adamant on the John Candy character eating the steak is because he couldn't afford to pay for dinner. And he knew that if he could get them to eat that steak, that they would get their dinner for free and he wouldn't have to look like a chump because he couldn't pay for it. Another thing that backs that up is there was a scene, a deleted scene, I think you can find it on YouTube, where he stiffs John Candy or with the bar tab or something like that, you know, because he didn't have the money to pay it. That's all I got really for this video. Stroll down memory lane with me there with the Karate Kid and the Great Outdoors. And like I said, I'd appreciate it if you could give me a like, a subscribe, and a share. It sure would mean a lot to me from the bottom of my heart. And don't forget to follow me on social media. All the links for that should be showing up on the bottom of the screen now. Visit me on my website at www.techonthemark.com. And like I said earlier in the video, if you'd like to help support me on Patreon, I sure would appreciate it. It'd give me a lot more time to do more videos. I have part 2 of the online reselling tips coming up real soon. I also have Canon Power to Create lens kit unboxing and review coming up. Now that's got 2 lenses in it, the Nifty 50, that's a fixed 50mm, and it's also got the wide angle 10 to 18mm lens. Come back and see me again next week. I sure do appreciate you watching, YouTube. Thanks so much and have a great day.